7-iron like John Davis at 3.
You suck, you jackass. I can make things out of clay and made by the bay. I just made.
There is old Mr. Three Wiggle, isn't there?
You take drugs, Danny? Every day. Good.
Still going.
All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome to For The Game podcast, episode 6. This is a special edition. We're coming right in to talk about the hottest topic in golf right now. Unless you've been sleeping under a rock, you've heard about the Bryson versus Brooks drama that's going on, and we're here to break it down. We're here to talk about it, see what's going on right now, look into the history of where it started, and just kind of go back and forth. I mean, Mark, I know you have been excited to talk about this. You've been excited about the beef. How you feel?
I feel like I'm back in college again, just researching history. I've learned so much about Bryson and Brooks, and I think, obviously it's the biggest story in golf right now, right? Like, we should be talking about Phil Mickelson winning the PGA Championship, and that's the furthest thing from anybody's mind right now in the golf world right now.
I mean, Jordan fired off a 63. Normally, that's all Golf Central would have ever talked about. That's all anyone in golf would have been talking about is Jordan Spieth shooting another amazing round. I barely heard anything about it.
We are talking about the leaked video footage of Brooks Koepka losing his shit as Bryson just happens to walk behind him during a Golf Channel interview.
Well, Brooks is a particular guy, and he's kind of the Bill Belichick of golf, if you will. He just gives one-word answers, short answers. And this was the kind of climax, the epitome of a Brooks Koepka answer, and there wasn't even a question asked. It's just the fact that he was wearing spikes and walking behind him set him off.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, and you could see it in his face, right? Like, that eye roll is. I mean, if that's not a bunch of memes right now, it definitely will be. Right?
Oh no, it's all over. I literally the account that we run, GolfDoods. Every single other account, the moment it happened, the moment it leaked, it was just like meme after footage. And then people started going and editing in things that Bryson said, so you had Bryson walking behind him. And I think one was like, oh, man, did you see Brooks's goatee? That thing is awful. And it's like, so it makes his eye roll. So people actually were thinking that Bryson did say something, which he did not. If you go back and listen to the original footage, he didn't say anything. People were saying that he did, but no, it was just the spikes, and I get it. I mean, not too many pros are wearing spikes. Are they pretentious a little bit? Do they chew up the greens? Yeah. Was it enough to set that deep of an eye roll? I don't know. I would say no, but that's just me.
No, I mean, it's not. It's a lot more. Obviously, if somebody's wearing spikes that's a weird thing to do these days. It's 2021. But wearing a paperboy hat is a weird thing to do these days. Having the same length club for all of your clubs is a weird thing to do these days. Trying to be a physicist out there is a weird thing to do. But Bryson is a weird fucking dude, and that obviously rubs Brooks the wrong way. And there's actually a pretty long history between these two that I think we should probably quickly run through.
I love it. I mean, first, before we break down the history real quick, I just want to fully cover what the happenings that's going on right now, because it's gotten pretty juicy. So we had the eye roll footage that was leaked from Golf Central. And then shortly after that, the match was announced, which has Bryson DeChambeau playing with Aaron Rodgers against Phil Mickelson and Tom Brady. And the moment it was announced, the eye roll footage is already out there. Everybody's talking about it. And the moment the match is announced, you have Brooks tweets at Aaron Rodgers, "Sorry, bro."
Right. Yeah, because Bryson and Aaron Rodgers are teamed up on the match, obviously.
I mean, just instigating, man. Just instigating. No need for it. Just out of nowhere. Just a Hail Mary shit talk. I loved it.
Well, and I think it's actually kind of par for the course on where Brooks's head is right now. Like, he's definitely thinking a lot about Bryson. I mean, you can see it obviously in that leaked video footage where dude just walks by him and he loses his shit. And now he's spending his time, tweeting Aaron Rodgers saying, "Sorry, bro." Right.
It's insane. And then, Bryson kind of got back at him a little bit. So he says, "Sorry, bro." And then Bryson responds and says, "Man, it must be nice living rent free in your head."
Yeah. I love living rent free in your head.
I love living rent free in your head. Claps right back at him. Golf world goes crazy again, a buzz. And then he takes it a step forward and on his stories on Instagram posts, it had the eye roll, it had Brooks eye rolling. and then it had a little mini picture of Bryson in his head with just a little cheers glass.
Yeah.
And the song was saying, it was a rent-free song. So, I mean, Brooks I feel like Brooks came out hot and everybody was just like dying laughing at Brooks. But I feel like Bryson's doing a decent job of clapping back and throwing his hat in the ring of some shit talk.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think Bryson is living rent free in Brooks's head right now. I think Brooks is absolutely, and again, it's a culmination of things over the past couple of years that's led to this point.
Yeah, I know you've done a lot of digging into this. Take us through it. Take us from the beginning. Where did this whole thing start? Why is there any beef to begin with? Where did we start at?
So let me take you back to late 2019. They're in Abu Dhabi. The PGA's in Abu Dhabi for some event. And Brooks is being interviewed after the round, and he's complaining about slow play on the course. And it's pretty obvious who he's complaining about. He's complaining about Bryson, because Bryson, the mad scientist that he is, takes forever to measure everything out before he hits a shot or makes a putt or whatever. So
it's craziness.
So that's where it started. It started with Brooks complaining about Bryson's slow play. Okay.
And then I think right after that, is that when, I mean, I know there was a moment where Brooks was either directly confronted him or there was something, and Bryson went to Brooks's caddy and said, hey, if Brooks has something to say to me, why don't you come say it to my face? Yeah. I think they had a conversation, or I think they worked it out. I don't know.
Yeah, the story goes that they had a conversation. They end up meeting, right, and having some conversation. And apparently, they were both asked about it afterwards, and they said it went well. Everything squashed. But what I've heard from my inside sources, aka the radio, is that it didn't actually go that well. Both of them kind of puffed up their chests. Bryson, was not the Bryson that we know today. He was still the more younger, nerdier Bryson at the time.
Oh, skinny Bryson.
Yeah. So apparently it didn't go that well, and nothing got squashed, and so it continued from there. Right.
Interesting. And so this must have been, if it was still skinny Bryson, this must have been because there was a Pat Perez interview where they were both kind of on. And again, I think because people knew who Brooks was talking about, the question got asked, who would win in a fist fight, Brooks or Bryson? And Bryson, being the non-protein shake drinking, skinnier version of himself, flat out said Brooks would take that down. 100%.
And there was no doubt about that.
At that time, no doubt. Yeah.
No doubt. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Then what will take us from there? What happened after that?
So then Bryson, it's when he's on Twitch, and he is, kind of just an offhanded comment. I don't know if somebody was asking him or what, but he had this offhanded comment that, Brooks doesn't have a six pack. And Brooks was featured in the Sports Illustrated body issue. And, right. And that's, So, and Bryson said, I don't know. He doesn't have a six pack though. I have a six pack, blah, 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 just kind of an offhanded comment. But Brooks caught wind of that immediately. And the next day, Brooks posts a picture of his 4 major championship trophies and says, you're right, I'm 2 away from a six pack.
God.
I mean, that was the best thing you could possibly do, right? I bet you Bryson was shitting his pants at that point.
And wait, and this is before Bryson had won a major. This is before, so he had 0 majors. It's the ultimate clapback. There's nothing you can say from that. I mean, you talk about a man's six pack and he hits you back with his 4 majors. There's not a lot of places to go from there.
Right. Yep. No, that was the ultimate. And then at some point after that, Brooks posted another meme, kind of implying that Bryson, was on some kind of steroids or something like that.
The Kenny Powers meme. That's right. Yeah, I remember this. Yes.
Yeah.
Which at the time, this was during he had about a minute long back and forth in the 3rd round of the tournament they were playing when he posted this meme. Bryson got into it with a camera guy, and it was intense, and it wasn't pretty, and it was in public. And for about a minute long, he just berates this camera guy. And it was at the end of that round that Bryson posts, because he had came back, he put on 50 pounds of mass. Dude looks huge, and then he's raging at a camera guy. So Brooks posts a meme of Kenny Powers raging out and attacking a camera guy. It was freaking
I don't know. Maybe Brooks has a point there. I mean, I know, like, I think there was some interview too where Brooks was commenting about eating like 12 slabs of bacon, like 16 eggs, 4 protein shakes. It was like, obviously making fun of what Brooks was eating, what Bryson was eating. So yeah, I don't know, but maybe there is some Mexican supplements in there. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, look, I know people have said it. I haven't heard any proof. I can't speak, yeah, I can't say yes or no to that. But then my favorite interaction for the two came shortly after that. And this is when things started getting a little ridiculous with Bryson. Because, look, Bryson, I've never been a huge hater, never been a huge fan. I've just kind of rode the line of appreciating his weird craziness and also kind of liking what he's done for the game a little bit. The stuff at the Arnold Palmer Invitational was super fun, watching him try to clear the lake. It was a moment in golf. So, I've been riding the line on that. But this is around the time where he started doing some things. He had his caddy come out one time and they were spraying the balls on the range because there was precipitation in the air. And then he started going that far with things, just a little on the douchey side for me personally. And right at around the same time, he calls a rules official in during a tournament, the third round of a tournament. And he calls a rules official in because there were ants around his ball, which he was trying to say was a burrowed animal. And you get relief from burrowed animals, a burrowed hole or whatever. And so he calls the rules official in, and they're sitting there. It looks like they have magnifying glasses almost. They're both sitting there staring. Finally, the rules official just says, "Nah, man, I don't know what you're talking about. You don't get a drop." The following day, Brooks Koepka is out on the course, hits a shitty drive, gets stuck in the trees again. Kind of similar position to where Bryson was the day before. And he walks over to his ball and he looks and he goes, "Oh man, there's ants." And his caddy, hook, line, and sinker, comes in and is like, "Where?" And he goes, "No, man, I'm just fucking with you."
Yeah.
I'm just kidding with you, man.
There's an ant.
That's the thing about Brooks, man. He's one of those guys that, like, he's not down for that slow play. He's not down for the scientific, discovery of a different type of golf game. Brooks is just a golfer, right? He's out there. He's going to beat the shit out of the ball. Yeah. He's going to play really good golf. Completely opposite of the type of player that Bryson is. And he has a sense of humor, so.
Totally. And it is really hard. I mean, honestly, look, I can't imagine as a professional, but as an amateur, I listen to Bryson and his caddy go back and forth sometimes, and it's unbearable. I mean, legit, they're talking about air density and air precipitation, and they're taking percentages off. If it's a 30% air density, they're taking 10 yards off. I mean, so they're doing an entire arithmetic before they're even starting to talk about yardage and what clubs and such. So, I mean, having to watch some of those clips where it takes him 3 minutes to talk out a shot and then he hits a shot and he doesn't even hit the shot, it's like, guys, I mean, you're a professional golfer. Like, I mean, I don't think, I wouldn't expect anyone to just walk up and hit it like Brooks does. That takes a certain caliber of player, but there is a middle ground.
Yeah, I don't know, man. The thing about Bryson though, like it is kind of, it's frustrating to watch, but it's also kind of fascinating. I mean, he's the only one that's doing the kind of stuff that he's doing. So it's kind of cool. But at the same time, it's like, he doesn't feel like any of the other players, cause he's not like any of the other players,
No.
He doesn't feel like he's just a super, I mean, obviously they're both amazing golfers and they're both golfers. So let's calm down with like any talk about these two fighting. I certainly don't believe that's ever going to happen.
Absolutely.
Although it does beg the question, like if they did come to fisticuffs, who do you think would win?
Oh man, I mean, it's tough now. I mean, look, pre-beefcake Bryson, it's a no-brainer. I mean, that's a Brooks Koepka runaway. Now, with the extra 50 pounds of mass, with Brooks obviously not looking like he's in the best of shape, I don't know where that goes, man. I still think if there's one person that like may have been in a fight, I agree with you. They're both golfers. I don't think either one of them have ever been in a fight, honestly. But I feel like if one was more likely to be in a fight, I do think it's Brooks Koepka. So I still got my money on Brooks Koepka if it comes down to it. What about you?
I agree. I guarantee you at some point, I don't know this, obviously, right? This is all just me talking out of my ass. But Brooks seems like the kind of guy that would say the wrong thing to the wrong person and then find himself in a fight, right?
Right.
He is kind of that. I mean,
he's an asshole.
Like you talk. Yeah, exactly. He's an asshole, right? He's definitely a dick to the media and, he complains about shit.
He answered a reporter asked him a question at the end. I think it was, this past weekend. And at the end of one of the rounds, he just said, "Look, this is a guy who just got off knee surgery, has a hurt knee. He's out there playing." And the reporter said, "Bryson, how did your knee feel playing today?"
And like a fair question.
Yeah, and how does that make you feel going into the rest of the round or the rest of the weekend? And Bryson said, "I'm 4 under. I'm 4 under."
Yeah.
And it was like such disdain in the question of like, how dare you ask about
Yeah.
my knee I just had surgery on? Like,
Right. Yeah. How dare you do your job and ask me about a relevant topic?
a completely relevant question. How
Yeah.
fucking dare you? So I'm with you. I mean, he's definitely the guy that has said the wrong thing and popped off. And somebody has probably come and tried to punch Brooks in the face.
Right.
That's for sure happened. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. If Bryson's ever been in a fight, it's because he was like the kid in class, always raising his hand and like answering
Right.
questions and like doing extra homework and stuff like that. Right. Like Bryson just got beat up because he was a nerd. Brooks got beat up because he said something to the wrong person.
Right. Totally.
But both of them got beat up. Neither one of them have ever started a fight.
Exactly. Yeah. And the beat up thing, like I said, I mean, it was probably an in school fight, and they were looking for the hall monitor. I think immediately. Okay? Exactly. They were trying to be beefy, but talking real loud so teacher heard. I think is where they were going with it.
By the way, I know they both listen to this podcast, so just so they're clear, you're both way cooler than I am. So just to make that clear. Yeah, I'm not trying to. You
both made more money last weekend than we did. Okay?
Yeah.
You're both
way better than me.
Yeah. So in a fight, all right, I think we've agreed Brooks Koepka is probably going to win that fight. I mean, it would be fun to watch, but I think we got Brooks. Another interesting. What about pairings? We got the Ryder Cup coming up here. Mm-hmm. What do you think about pairing those two motherfuckers together?
So we kind of talked about this. I don't like the idea of pairing them together for the Ryder Cup, but I love the idea of pairing them together for every other PGA tournament ever. But the Ryder Cup is too important. The USA has to win. I don't want their attitudes towards each other to interfere with them, having their eyes on the prize. But so not for the Ryder Cup. Definitely not. I mean, I just say no to that.
It's tough. It's tough because look, you want what's best for America. Like you said, we need a win. I mean, America's record at the Ryder Cup is not the best record we have going. But it is what everybody wants to see. It's what the entire golfing world wants to see. So you have to weigh, how much do we want America to win versus how much do we want the viewership to be off the fucking hook and everyone to watch it. But I'm with you. I look, as an American, I would advise against putting them in the same room together. I would advise against putting them in the same group together.
Right.
I would advise it putting them on opposite ends of the dinner tables. Just keep these guys separated. Let America win a Ryder Cup, please.
Yeah.
And then you said something interesting too. Last thing we could touch on is that you thought that Bryson DeChambeau, that this is all a part of his plan. That the mad scientist is further working his magic, and he's in Brooks's head.
Think about what Bryson does on the course, right? And all this stuff that he's working on, and the calculations going on in his head. I think Bryson sees an opportunity to systematically get into people's heads, and I think Brooks happened, by complaining about Bryson. Brooks just figured out, or Bryson just said, screw it, I'm going to go after him first, and I'm going to get in his head, and it's clearly working. So I think, again, like, chess versus checkers kind of thing, right? Like, I think everyone else is playing golf, and Bryson is playing chess golf, right? Versus checkers golf, right? So I think he's playing people on the course, and I think he's playing people off the course in their heads, and he's starting with Brooks. I wouldn't be surprised to see Bryson do some of the same stuff to other players. I just think Brooks happens to be the first one. And if you look at their rankings in the world golf rankings, ever since this started, Brooks has gone down in the rankings and Bryson has climbed up. And now Bryson's number 4, Brooks is number 7. I know those change,
Interesting.
frequently.
Someone needs to let Brooks know about that stat if he doesn't already know. Someone needs to really let him know. Well, look, like we said, unless you have been sleeping under a rock, this is the biggest story in golf right now. It is it's silly. It's childish that two grown men beefing like this has excited so many other grown men. It is pretty silly and pretty. It's one of the things that I love about golf is that how, these stories that kind of have nothing to do with golf sometimes get as much attention as, like you said, Phil Mickelson winning, Jordan Spieth shooting a 63. And most of the coverage is talking about the post-round interview that happened on a Saturday.
This is what Tiger Woods' free PGA looks like, right? I mean, it's like if Tiger Woods isn't there dominating like always, like he used to, you have to find these other storylines. And, I think I'm hearing people talk about this that typically don't even cover golf or talk about golf really, and it's becoming it was, earlier this week, kind of a top story. So, and I don't think it's going away anytime soon. I mean, next time these two are both in a tournament together, this is going to be a topic of conversation. Everyone's going to want to see them go against each other on Sunday. Can you imagine both in contention? I mean, what is it? The U.S. Open is coming up, right? Torrey Pines.
2 weeks. And I mean, and people are already saying, just please put them together. Just freaking pair them together, make it happen. But I mean, I think, and real quick, this will be the last thing we can touch on. I think it's an interesting tactic, and I think it's an interesting way to go about sports in general, not just golf. I mean, you see what's going on with boxing, with all these kind of one-off fights that are going on pay-per-view. You got the Logan Pauls and the Jake Pauls that are really reinvigorating the sport. And they're not the biggest names in boxing. They're just big names on YouTube. And it's almost coming down to, people want to see professional fighters fight, of course. But with a sport like boxing, people just want to see these two entertaining people that they see with public beef. They want to see them fight. And I see a similar kind of thing happening with these matches that they're doing, which are not PGA sanctioned events, but they're just kind of set up for entertaining golf matches. And so I'm with you where I don't see this ending. And I think it's actually setting up an unbelievable next match that could be a Brooks versus Bryson with, two Yahoos behind them, or just a Brooks versus Bryson. I mean, they did the Tiger versus Phil match. So I'm with you, man. It's kind of interesting to see where sports is going and how these little exhibitions are becoming sometimes bigger than the actual main events that are happening in sports. It's interesting.
So let me ask you this. Let's say Bryson and Aaron Rodgers win this match and they go on to play in the next match. I don't know if there's any rules like that. That's how this works. Let's just say they do that, right? So Bryson and Aaron win and they put Brooks and somebody else against them. Who's Brooks's partner? Who do you want to see?
Oh God. Who do I want to see with Brooks? That's a tough one, man. I mean, we when it comes to other sports players that are great at golf, I know, Steph Curry was just in the last one. I think you may have, or somebody, we were talking about this a few days ago, threw out Tony Romo, or
I want Romo.
That was you. That's what I thought. It was you that wanted Romo.
The reason I want Romo is because he's a stick, right? And Rodgers apparently is pretty good. So you'd have two ex NFL quarterbacks that are pretty good and that have faced each other in their playing days, versus obviously Brooks and Bryson. Rodgers and Romo, or Rodgers and Bryson versus Brooks and Romo. I think there's something there. I'd buy a pay-per-view if that was a pay-per-view.
Especially when you pin it that way. You got the great match on the top of the card, and on the bottom of the card, you got two competitors that went at each other their entire career. It's great. No, I love that.
Let's throw some other stuff in there too. Like let's allow like punches, let's throw some hockey in there. So like they can like fight each other and the refs don't break it up for a little bit,
PGA, listen to us, okay? We're telling you what we want to see.
Penalty for fighting? That'd be hilarious.
And look, especially because it's match play. So if you shank one out to the right and you're already going to get, just go in and hammer.
Might as well drop the golf glove and
throw a haymaker,
throw the driver and start fighting.
Well, look, we love talking about it. We had to come on and do a special edition of the podcast just to kind of catch anyone up who wasn't up to date, or if you've been seeing some of the memes pop up and you're wondering what the heck is going on with these two golfers. That's the long and the short of it. And again, we're going to keep you posted on what's going on and keep you updated. Hopefully this rivalry keeps going. Hopefully it keeps growing. Hopefully it gets more and more petty and they bring more and more people into it. I mean, now you got Phil Mickelson, Tom Brady. They're tweeting at each other. And I mean, the whole thing's blowing up. I'm excited to see it. But yeah, we'll keep you guys updated and stay with us. Thank you guys for listening to us talk golf. And we're going to be back on this Sunday. We're going to have the winner of the last PFP event. They were on a break for a second, but they're back on now, and we're back to following their schedule. So we'll have the winner from the most recent PFP event on Sunday. I want to, as always, throw a quick shout to our sponsors over at sweetrollsgolf.com and kegsmiths.com. We have a discount code at PFP15. We'll get you 15% off anything on their websites. From GolfDoods, my name is Jeff Lewis. We have Mark Bonus. Thank you, buddy. We'll see y'all next week.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Later, y'all. Cheers.